they're massive trillion-dollar institutions. Imagine what is going to happen next, you know, in the bull market. Every Formula One competition, every tennis match, every soccer match, it will be filled with Bitcoin products, crypto, ETF marketing, you know. Everyone is going to see crypto everywhere. And I think that is going to bring in a massive influx. Okay, guys, we might be seeing the biggest bull market that we've ever seen. This week, Japan's pension fund, a $1.4 trillion fund, has announced that they're considering buying into Bitcoin as part of their investment strategy. Earlier, we've seen the approval of the Bitcoin ETFs. We're hearing rumors of Ethereum ETFs. There's a whole bunch of institutional money waiting along the sidelines to enter the market. And with all of that developments in the market, I think we are in for a really nice ride. So in today's video, I have a guest, Lorenzo, over here. I met Lorenzo here in Bali through a mutual friend. And I texted him a few weeks ago and I told him like, hey dude, let's record a podcast. I want to hear your experience in the crypto market, your journey, and I want to brainstorm a little bit, talk about all of the developments in the market and your perspective on the market, what you think is going to happen next. I'm going to share my experiences, my perspective, my assumptions as well. And let's both discuss how we and the viewers of this video can get most out of the upcoming or the current crypto bull market. So without any further ado, Lorenzo, maybe you want to give a short introduction about yourself, tell people who you are, what you're doing, and yeah.
Well, absolutely. It's going to be a wild ride. I
Wild
can tell you
ride.
that already. So yeah, well, first of all, thank you for having me, man. I really appreciate it, the way, you know, you are established yourself also already in the crypto space, in the mining factory side of things. You're so incredible. So yeah, starting out from when I was small, I guess, you know, starting on the near, both of my parents were from a young age, as far as I could remember, already extremely entrepreneurial. So my mother had a pretty good company, my father as well. They were both, you know, a businessman and a businesswoman, trying to compete with each other, make it happen. And my mother, you know, and my father, both of them, always wanted me to go to school and just do, you know, the regular stuff. And I always find it very strange. It's like, okay, so I have to go to school, I have to get a job and a degree, and then you guys are doing, you know, the cool stuff. So from a young age, I was always like a dreamer. If you could visualize a child, you probably always know a kid in the back of the classroom with his pencil in his mouth, staring out of the window.
That was you.
That was me. That was me.
Nice.
For sure. So by staring out of the window for a long period of time, I realized, you know what? At some point I saw the snow and that beautiful feeling hitting the ground, becoming white. I was like, you know what? I'm going to become a weatherman.
Okay, nice. Didn't expect that one.
Right? So for years, I decided, you know what? I'm going to become a weatherman. So I was making all these projections in the living room, like for my mother, from a Monday to the Sunday, the temperature, the wind speed, and all that stuff.
Were they based on actual data or?
Oh, I went all in. I went deep. Like, you know, the heat waves and like the cold temperatures and like the clashes of the wind and all that stuff.
How old were you then?
I think I was around 6, 7 years old.
Oh, okay, that's really early.
Yeah. But you know, the older I got, the more inspiration I started to get from my father. I really saw him as like, wow, the big guy. He was like doing really, you know, good stuff here. So I wanted to be like him. So I started to be much more interested in, you know, becoming an entrepreneur. You know, getting, you know, more serious about it. And, you know, all the way leading up to university, I was like, you know what? I want to just become an entrepreneur. This is what I want to do. And my father said, okay, listen, if this is really what you want to do, like, you know, you got my blessings, but don't expect anything from me in regards to money or anything in that manner. Because I'm a self-made man. I want you to be a self-made man. I want you to experience the same struggles as I did.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, I'm like, you know, I was a little bit frustrated because like, you know, I had my friends, my cool friends, and they all, you know, got a bunch of help from their dad, and like I didn't.
Yeah.
And it was always very frustrating at some point. So we had like that clash for a while. But down the road, I realized what kind of blessing it actually was, that I had to do everything myself, go through all the struggles here. So I said, yeah, sure, you know, no uni for me. I was supposed to study law, international law. I decided to eventually not do it and to just follow my entrepreneurial career path.
Yeah.
And from that moment, I was like, okay, I'm just going to become an entrepreneur. It's going to be easy. It's going to be my thing. You know, my parents, like full of confidence, like a 19-year-old thinking like, you know, top of the world. So I was like, yeah, just going to do that. Easy. So what I did was at the beginning, somebody approached me and I ended up in some network marketing company.
Nice. Great
I
start.
don't want to call the company because like it's you know, some sort of pyramid scheme, but it's probably the best start of my career in general, because you know I started to get familiar with all these motivational speakers, and I started to do Jim Rohn, you know, the grandfather I never had. You know, I started to do all the research and just listen to all these guys and go to all these conferences and just trying to meet up and network in that manner. So, you know, Jim Rohn always said like, I want you to focus harder on yourself than you do on your job. So it was always the main focus I had. And I went from Jim Rohn to Bob Proctor with the law of attraction. And then I went to Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and the cash flow quadrant.
And then you go deep in the rabbit hole, deeper and deeper.
Deeper and deeper. So in terms of practicality from like an entrepreneurial standpoint, I didn't really learn much. But in terms of myself and the vision and mindset and you know, knowing that you can achieve much more in combination with what my parents did, you know, that gave me such a massive drive to just achieve and just keep going and moving forward. However, I decided at some point to quit it and to just start my own path. And I decided to go into e-commerce.
Okay.
Because I found that next big thing. And I was like, okay, I'm going to make it happen in e-commerce. So I started drop shipping. First product, boom, massive success. First thing I've ever tried, no split testing, boom, massive.
Okay.
I was like, okay, done.
Easy.
Finished, easy. So, you know, make a lot of money. And, you know, I was still young, so I was telling everyone about it, how cool I was and like how much money I was making, you know, getting kind of that, how do you call that? The shiny object syndrome.
Right.
Where, you know, I always felt that it was easy to achieve, and I just, you know, wanted to go to the next thing.
They can do everything.
I could do everything. Yeah. So I started to adjust my lifestyle. I started to scale, you know, still, you know, my early 20s. And then at some point, the money stopped coming in. And there you are, you know, you are a young bloke, you know, adjusted your lifestyle. You made a lot of money. Money stopped coming in. It's not as easy suddenly to get your second winning product, and there you go. You're back at square one, right? But every single time I learned something else here, and that shiny object syndrome was a curse for a long time, but also a blessing later on as well, because of the fact that all these experiences individually lead to you know, a more complete package.
I believe so, yeah.
So after that, you know, I was going from business to business to business, trying all kinds of stuff out here, until one day a friend of mine told me, hey, Lorenzo, I'm running this like secret poker home game. You should come over.
Okay.
And I have some guys, and you know, we're gonna figure some stuff out. So, I don't know how to play poker. Like, you know, I'm like, okay, let's just see what's up. So I go there, you know, $200. Ended up with $3,000 or something like that. It was like a lot of...
For your first time?
For my first time.
Okay.
So again, same thing as drop shipping.
That's
like,
easy.
Boom, jackpot. Hooked, you know, once you get in there. Very interesting. And poker is a very interesting game by itself, because it complies a lot of probability, a lot of psychology in the markets as well, or in that specific field. So I was like, man, this is my next thing. This is what I want to become now. I want to
Yeah.
become a professional poker player. So I went to Australia to one of the biggest tournaments, the Unibet Open. I also went in Barcelona, Vegas. I went to all these poker games,
Yeah.
underground, you name it, to
Okay.
become the best poker player in the world.
How did that work out?
Well, I will get there because I'm leading into trading eventually, of course, because I'm a trader right now. But what happened was, after years of playing poker, also playing competitive chess. This is always something that I've done next to my entrepreneurial side of things. I always played chess on a pretty decent level. My friend was like the national champion. I was playing against him, evaluating our games and all that stuff, which is extremely strategic. And then you have poker, which is more skill-based, probability-based, and then, very, very much also psychology-based. So if you combine these two factors, you have a really solid foundation.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
At some point, throughout my online poker experience as well, it's just for practice, I could do a payout. I did my monthly payouts based upon the profits I generated. And there was in 2016 an opportunity suddenly to pay myself out in Bitcoin.
Nice. Okay.
And that's where the journey really, really started. Because
When was this? 2017?
2016.
16.
So
Okay. Nice.
Bitcoin was around $900.
Yeah.
I believe.
Right before the bull market.
Right before the bull market. And in order to get my Bitcoin, I needed to make an account on an exchange, and it was Qcoin at the time. So I opened an account on an exchange here, deposited my money in Bitcoin, and you know how it goes when you have one foot in the door. It's game over, because same thing if I tell you right now, hey, I'm gonna give you $5 for every red car you're gonna see after this podcast, then you're gonna see red cars everywhere.
You're gonna pay attention.
Yeah. So get into the get into the market. Suddenly have some Bitcoin on my Qcoin exchange account, and saw some sort of documentary about a guy in the Netherlands that turned $100 into $1 million. Again,
oh yeah, I know exactly.
you know exactly which guy that was, right?
Yeah.
Done. Finished. Buy
That's
poker.
gonna be me.
That's gonna be me. And I realized how similar trading was to poker and chess. That's the exact hybrid of the both of things. So I was like, okay, I gained some previous experience. I can make this happen. This is what I'm gonna do here. Had some serious conversation with my father, because I always ask my father for advice. I take him very, very seriously. Extremely loyal to his opinion. And I decided, okay, if I really want to achieve something now, then I have to stick with it. There is no more way back for me. No more switching around here.
No more shiny objects.
No more shiny object syndrome.
All in or all out.
Yeah, exactly. Make a lot of money, losing a lot of money, becoming in a worse situation. It's just not enjoyable anymore. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to trade. I'm going to go into the investing space, into finance, become better, and just try to evolve as a human being. So that's how I ended up becoming a trader. Now, after that, a couple years in the game, I saw that the live trading came on. It was like a new niche on YouTube where people started to trade live.
Yeah.
And it's a very small niche when I started out. Very, very small. And it's not even that long ago. It's around 2 years ago. And yet, in the Forex industry, because I went from crypto to the traditional markets, because I wanted to gain some knowledge also in the traditional markets to, again, gain a better macro understanding of what's happening in the world.
Yeah.
So I realized how dirty, in essence, the Forex market is, because, you have a couple different types of groups there. You have the gamblers, right? They put a couple $100 in their account and they go full margin all in on a
lose
trade.
Everything.
They lose everything and then blame other people for it.
Yeah.
And then you have these influencers that, make huge commissions on their brokerage firms that they probably own themselves as well. So they get double the commissions, and they buy a Ferrari or a Lamborghini and they start driving around with it. And it inspires these people again to deposit more money. Yeah. And it's the most,
vicious
circle you could ever imagine.
Yeah. And there's so many people in that circuit that you just explained, so many.
It's
so
massive.
many. It's
massive.
It's massive.
So I purposefully decided, okay, I've been trading now since 2016. I made a lot of money in crypto before. I'm now in the traditional markets because the crypto was practically dead for a long period of time, due like 2019 ish. So I decided, okay, this is what I'm gonna do here. Early 2022, the second bear market, I decided, okay, I need to step up my game. I need to show my qualities, my skills. So I'm gonna trade live, and I'm gonna do 1,000 live trades. Doesn't matter how long it takes, how much time it takes for me. I'm gonna do 1,000 live trades on stream publicly to get my track records out there live. So if I win, I win. If I lose, I lose. In the most transparent fashion way possible, going completely against the herd, like how everyone else is doing it. So we've been doing that for a while, 2 years, and the rest is history. We've been building out a community of around 20,000 members in our Discord organically.
Nice. Well done.
All these guys right now, incredibly motivated. We're growing in a pretty rapid pace. For me personally, it was just kind of like a, can I say that? Like a fuck you moment to the Forex industry itself. Like, hey,
of course you can say that.
I can, I can do this transparently, And I think people really appreciate that. But I didn't know how much it affected individuals until I got a message from a guy that said like, hey, Lorenzo, and it was early, all the way at the beginning. I lost my wife, I lost my kids, unable to see them. I lost my mother last month. She passed away from cancer, you name it, like really bad situation. And he said, then I watched your live streams, and it gave me hope. It gave me like a new vision.
Okay, great.
And if there is one thing in life that I realized is the best thing that you can ever do is to build a certain skill, to give as much free information as possible, free value as possible. And the fulfillment that you get from these type of messages is limitless. And that's how we started the Limitless Trading Academy.
Okay, so nice bridge.
From that one message. And I was like, man, that's it. That's what we're going to do now. We're going to run the academy. We're going to grow. And we're going to just keep moving forward. And just do the 1,000 trades on stream.
That's amazing. And I mean, by putting yourself out there, you're forced to become the best possible version of yourself, right? You have your track record open on the internet. Everyone can see it. So you need to step up your game. And in the process, you're helping a lot of people. So I think that's the best possible win-win scenario that anyone can create. And talking about those Forex influencers, none of them really show their results, right? It's all just showing a lifestyle. You want this lifestyle, go to my Telegram, join the free signals, and then get destroyed.
Exactly.
It's a dirty industry.
You can fake everything. So you can fake any track records, any withdrawal, brokerage firm history. It's just a PDF file. But what you can't fake is live execution. So
true.
That's the main main reason.
Nice. I think there are a lot of similarities in our story. My dad also is an entrepreneur. And similarly, he never wanted me to go into entrepreneurship. He always said, no, just go study, get a great job. And I'm like, and here we are, both
He's a wise man. He knows how hard it actually is.
Because apparently they want to give some kind of stability to you that they haven't had. As an entrepreneur, there's a lot of weight on your shoulders. But still, I prefer this path that I'm on right now. And I see having a job as even being more risky than being an entrepreneur. Because if you get laid off,
at this moment, absolutely. No, the transition is real. The Changing World Order by Ray Dalio. One of our Bibles also right now. We're literally in it right now. We're in that the biggest wealth transfer of the world. And that's going to come with a lot of complications. And
absolutely.
It's no longer about stability. It's about how can we preserve our risk, our capital as much as possible during that time. And obviously when the biggest transfer happens, the biggest opportunities also appear. So
totally. So let's talk about opportunities. So when we were chatting before this podcast, we are approaching the crypto market from two different sides. I run a crypto mining company. We have got farms all around the world. Our newest farm is in Ethiopia. We're managing 80,000 machines. We've got investors from all around the world. In addition to that, I've got the Early Retirement Club, my investment community. Initially more focused on building a diversified investment portfolio. But more recently, of course, because of all of the hype in the crypto market, we're focusing a little bit more on crypto because everyone is just hyped when they see all of the innovation, all of the projects, and everything is pumping at this point as well. So that's bringing in a lot of new eyeballs. You're trading, you've got your trading community. And let's talk about our vision of the crypto space in the next few decades. What are you imagining that is going to happen in the crypto space in the next years to come?
Yeah, so specifically when talking about the adoption curve right now, where we're currently in here, it's the first actual time right now that institutions are, getting involved into the crypto space. It's also the first time where crypto projects finally are starting to show some utility, some revenue that they're finally creating. They're no longer a concept, because in all the previous runs so far, practically every single project was just an idea, like a hope for the future,
right?
And a potential, tool or something that they could utilize for the crypto market to make things better. Now at this particular moment, you have actual products coming to life with a concept that's no longer a concept,
right?
But it actually is used on a day-to-day basis in different types of narratives right now. So that transition is very interesting, because you're seeing the crypto market slowly turning into, a small stock market at the moment,
right?
Where the more utility, the more use case, the more revenue, the stronger the foundation. So based upon that framework, I think we're now at the verge of that transition, where we're going to see a massive difference between the real products that are serious about growing in the industry and the rest, let's sort of say. Now you have, of course, a major meme hype.
Right. At this point,
moment.
It's massive. Yeah.
My personal theory about it is that some way, somehow, we need to get the retail back into the market. So, the way to do that is by these type of stories, where people make a bunch of money with some sort of dog coin or a cat coin, and then they enter the markets again, and they forgot about what happened in 2022.
Oh yeah, totally.
When they got completely destroyed.
Yeah.
So now you're at a stage where a lot of new money is coming in, a lot of new millionaires are created, and this gives people the hope that we're back in industry. And I think this is the main driver of getting new liquidity,
eyeballs,
new eyeballs into the market. So when it comes down to the adoption curve, I think we're literally at the verge of a major transition, and that's why I believe we're heading into potentially some sort of super cycle, because we're right in front of the regulators right now as well. Practically every exchange now is trying to utilize their KYC. It's getting much more serious, and of course the massive amount of influx in the market. So I expect much more utility for the overall market in the near future, in the next coming years. And that's just not gonna stop.
Here's one of my observations. I've been investing for quite a few years, and when I'm talking to any random person, I would say 90% of the people are not investors. They call themselves investors, but they're really gamblers. And what I see happening a lot is when you do your research on a crypto project, you see a landing page, and this landing page has a whole bunch of buzzwords: blockchain, AI, Web3, whatever. And the average person doesn't have a clue about what it's saying on this web page, but it's mentioning all the right words that make them think like, wow, this is such a sophisticated project. This must be something that's going to completely revolutionize. And then their mind is like, all right, let me throw in a few $100. And when the masses are doing this in, bulk, it pumps up projects without any utility, without anything behind it. And then you just have a sort of self-sustaining market that pumps itself and it brings in new eyeballs. And you're saying it's great to bring in a lot of eyeballs and liquidity, but it works two ways. Like those people will also be completely destroyed again in 1.5 to 2 years. And I personally really hope that more people will be educated this bull market cycle. Of course, you can make a lot of money with meme coins. You can make a lot of money with altcoins, but also to look and have a little bit of a longer term game plan of what you could be investing in over the long term, when you should be taking profits, more or less. I think that's also one great topic that we can talk about later, like creating your own game plan to make, to take profits. The meme coin hype is back. The casino is open. Fully. Everyone
it's
around
all in right now.
Just before we started this podcast, we were talking to the cameraman who made 30% on his Pepe and on the book of memes. Everyone is now looking at this market again. But there are a few very important differences, like you mentioned, compared to previous cycles. And the biggest one that I'm looking at, that's indeed the institutional money that's going to flow into this market. We have, how many Bitcoin ETFs got approved now? More than 10, I think 11 Bitcoin ETFs. Some of the names behind these ETFs, BlackRock, Vanguard, you name it. They're massive trillion-dollar institutions. And imagine what is going to happen next, in the bull market. Every Formula One competition, every tennis match, every soccer match, it will be filled with Bitcoin products and crypto ETF marketing. Everyone is going to see crypto everywhere. And I think that is going to bring in a massive influx. This bull market cycle, I've had my dad, my uncle, friends of them asking me already, and we're still early stage. Already. Yeah. We've got some family friends here in Bali, and they already asked me like 1 or 2 months ago, like, man, this Bitcoin stuff, how can I buy it? So already this early, and I think still the masses still needs to enter the market. So there's just a massive window of opportunity. Let's talk about how you are positioning yourself for what is about to come next.
Yeah. So what I wanted to say in regards to that as well, when coming back to Larry Fink, for example, the CEO of BlackRock, he's talking about, and also the CEO of JP Morgan, he's talking about the tokenization of the world. So it's no longer, just, Bitcoin. It's also going to be, in my opinion, Ethereum. I think that Ethereum is also going to play a major, factor potentially in this industry due to the fact that anything based around smart contracts is something that you can integrate in everything. So everything that's currently centralized can become decentralized to that way of doing business, in terms of the transaction speeds, in terms of cutting out the middleman, and all that stuff right there. So just by definition, I think that once we're heading into the actual tokenization of the world, and we can also maybe talk a little bit about the spot ETF that's coming for Ethereum potentially in the next coming months. It's probably going to be massive for the overall influx of new capital as well. But what I decided for myself is I realized, and especially if you are also a beginner investor, is that if you want to know everything about everything, you will end up knowing nothing.
Exactly, yeah.
So I decided for myself that I want to focus on a couple narratives, which I believe in personally, which I think have major growth potential and especially from that revenue aspect, something which instantly can be used by retail, which people like to use. And these two narratives are AI and are gaming, crypto gaming to be exact. And it's the first time, because we've seen in 2021, probably remember like a massive run in gaming. Everyone was playing like Axie Infinity and like massive guilds around it and stuff. All these NFTs were connected to it, but these were all still concepts. Mainly 99% of these games were all ideas. There was nothing that ever existed here. So everyone, again, based upon pure faith, a beautiful website like you mentioned here, and an emotional connection, they invested all of their money to it. But now you start seeing that transition to games like AAA game qualities that are actually getting released and have that potential of becoming the next big, sort of game that can actually blow up and that people actually like playing. Instead of just thinking about the value of the price and stuff, right? So it actually has a utility value. Next to the fact that there are a couple of projects out there with incredible infrastructures right now, which you can utilize to integrate the blockchain technologies into already existing AAA games out there. And there are like a lot of big players, Epic Games, for example, that are already starting to adopt new kinds of blockchain games into also their own games and stuff, and start to integrate that spectrum into their own utility as well. So therefore, we're seeing like a massive transition right now of like revenue. And if it comes down, for me personally, where I believe in companies that can show their revenue on a month-to-month basis.
People forget that crypto projects are businesses, and every business needs to make money to sustain and to maintain longevity, and people just forget it. They get confused by all of the buzzwords, but they're businesses and they need to make money. Exactly.
So for me personally, I decided, okay, I'm going to focus on a growing industry. The Metaverse, the gaming industry is growing tremendously. AI, growing tremendously. 1 + 1 = 2. I put my energy in that, and I try to make the best out of that. And I, kind of have my diversified portfolio next to my Bitcoin, my Ethereum, to just start focusing on a couple of narratives where I believe in. But, before I even would invest, I would always think about, okay, never invest something that you're willing to lose. At the same time, make sure that you have a cash flow heavy business or something that providing you with the opportunities to invest, so you're no longer fully dependent on it either. Because I think it's just going to give you too much stress when you're putting all your hard working money into a project,
and then you get super
emotional. You're looking at it every single day. You're getting emotional, and it's just not the right recipe for success in the industry.
That's a rookie mistake.
Absolutely. So
nice, interesting. I've got a fun story to add to that. So the previous bull market, 2021, like peak of the bull market, more or less. I met my ex-girlfriend at the time. It was October 2021, and she was a wedding planner, and everything like on social media, YouTube, everyone was talking about the Metaverse. So she was like, all right, I am going to position myself to become the biggest wedding planner in the Metaverse. So I'm like, have you ever been inside the Metaverse? She's like, no, but everyone is talking about it, so it must be a really great place. And so we were walking through the Dubai Mall, and I jokingly said, let's go on a date in the Metaverse, and I'll show you around. So the next day, she came with her laptop to my room, and I opened my laptop. We logged into Decentraland. And we walked around Decentraland. And it was so shitty, to be honest. So after 2 minutes, we just closed our laptop and we're like, okay.
It's probably the worst game I've ever played.
It's not fun at all. But the price was pumping so hard. There was so much hype. So afterwards, she decided to just stay into wedding planning for the normal world for now. But yeah, I think all of this hype, it brings in a lot of new people to the industry. Most likely the previous bull market created this whole narrative of the metaverse, of crypto gaming. And I'm really excited to see where this is going to take us next. I always compare the development of the crypto space to the invention of the internet. You know, the internet got invented in the 1950s, 1960s as like a military technology. Afterwards, like a small group of academics started to adopt it, and it wasn't until the 90s or early 2000s that the average person had access to the internet. And I think, indeed, now we are at a point where the early adopters are in the market, and with all of the, like you say, crypto gaming, where there's a big community of gamers worldwide, if they actually start to adopt crypto, and if all of the institutions who are bringing in a lot of traditional investors, if they're also going to embrace crypto, then I think we might be somewhere right before the hockey stick curve starts to kick in. So, okay, so you're positioning yourself in crypto gaming and AI. If I'm going to share a little bit about my portfolio, I would say I'm 70% in Bitcoin and Ethereum, mostly Bitcoin because that's my main business. I mine Bitcoin so I can produce it below its market value, and the higher Bitcoin goes, the more profitable it becomes compared to just buying it on the open market.
Correct.
So I've got an advantage over there. And 30% of my portfolio is in smaller coins. So I'm particularly looking at infrastructure projects, meaning, for example, let's take the Graph. Have you ever heard of the project called the Graph? So the Graph is like Google of the blockchain. So it's indexing different blockchains, and it's making it more easily searchable, indexable. And I think more and more decentralized applications, dApps, are building on top of the Graph and making use of it. So if those projects grow, they make more use of this infrastructure project, and as a result, it wins if the projects that are building on top of it wins. And I'm looking for these kinds of plays where actually it's almost like investing in an ETF. By investing in one project, you also get exposure to a whole ecosystem of projects that are building on top of it. And earlier you said that Ethereum is going to play a very important role in the world and in this whole transition. And that's true, because Ethereum right now has the biggest ecosystem of applications, but also the biggest ecosystem of developers. And its value, it's just getting from all of the integration and adoption and all of the activity that is happening on top of it. But let me ask you this question. Do you believe that Ethereum will become and stay the most important infrastructure layer of Web3? Or do you think it might get outcompeted by other protocols?
Yes, and I'll tell you why exactly. I do believe that Ethereum is, in essence, the main framework for what's building right now. And you know, people tend to get distracted by the high gas fees, and they tend to complain a lot about, you know, it's extremely expensive, the network, and all that stuff right here. But they forget about, you know, the layer 2, scenarios. When talking about infrastructure, that's exactly what Ethereum is doing. It's building the framework for all the layer 2 applications, like you've seen with the Avalanche chain, with Polygon, Matic, Polkadot, you name it. So when you're seeing all of these projects, you know, creating these type of layer 2 networks on top of Ethereum, this will automatically have a significant influx for Ethereum as well here. So I think that Ethereum has still a very, very long way to go. We will find out how it will go with the spot ETF approval. There is no certainty yet, by the way.
Yeah,
If
there's
it's
a 30%
if it's
probability.
actually going to happen.
That's a lot lower than the Bitcoin ETF probability. Yeah.
Yeah, but we all know that if BlackRock wants something,
Yeah, it will happen.
they most likely get it. Like
Yeah.
we have seen it before. It will most likely happen again. How Larry Fink was already talking about.
Did BlackRock announce that they're
BlackRock
interested
announced
in the Ethereum ETF?
they are interested in
Yeah.
the Ethereum spot ETF indeed. So he announced already multiple times that he believes in the tokenization of the world.
Yeah.
That directly refers to Ethereum. They're a huge player in the game. Money talks, you could say. So
Does that directly refer to Ethereum? Because there's other smart contract platforms that could tokenize real-world assets.
no, that's completely true. But based upon their application process.
Yeah. Okay.
You would say it speaks for itself. But
Don't watch what they say. Watch what they do.
Like there is no
Yeah.
certainty. Like we'll put a disclaimer out there until it's actually approved. It was
Yeah.
supposed to be in March. Now they're saying it's in May here. So we will find out over the next couple of months how that actually will go. But it's gonna be an interesting. It's gonna be a wild ride. That's for sure. The Bitcoin halving is coming
Very soon.
I actually have a question for you
Okay.
in regards to the Bitcoin halving.
Yeah. What's the
Because you're in the
question?
mining, you're in the mining space, of course.
Yeah.
You have a significant amount of miners. How does that impact the miners in the near future?
Yeah, interesting question. So the thing about the Bitcoin halving, that's like the number one question that I get. Like, oh yeah, but the halving is coming soon. Will mining still be profitable?
Yeah.
And I can tell you the reason why the Bitcoin price right now is as high as it is right now is because the market is already processing the halving of the Bitcoin rewards into the price. So the production cost of Bitcoin will be higher. Now, what happens with the halving is every 4 years, all of the older machines that are like 4 or 5 years old will not be able to compete anymore, which, yeah, is fine because my customers and myself, we buy new machines periodically. So we always have a batch of machines that is still able to work really well and profitable. And the thing is, I don't really care that every one of my machine produces half the amount of Bitcoin as long as the price is 2, 3, 4, 5 times higher.
Right. Yeah.
In dollar terms, I'm still making a lot of profit. And that's why every bull market cycle, rookie investors will say Bitcoin mining is not profitable anymore. But in fact, it is still profitable. It's because you haven't taken into account the fact that Bitcoin usually pumps really hard after the Bitcoin halving. I've had months or days where every one of my machines was producing 1,500 euros or dollars profit every single month. So for one machine. Imagine having a Bitcoin mining farm with 80,000 machines.
Yeah.
In all transparency, they're not all my machines. I've got a lot of machines over there. But yeah, literally, it's printing money. You've got a money printing machine in a data center. So, and Bitcoin mining used to be very niche. It used to be like for, how would I say, like a small group of intellectuals or small group of programmers that were mining Bitcoin from their computers, and now it's evolving into a really big industry where people like BlackRock now owns is a majority shareholder in 4 out of the 5 publicly traded Bitcoin mining companies, and everyone is entering the market because they know there's still a lot more money to be made. So. Yeah,
I always like what Michael Saylor said at the beginning of his journey when he started to come public about Bitcoin and stuff, and he started to talk about how money is one of the most purest forms of energy.
Yeah,
and that Bitcoin represents, when talking about mining specifically, that exact spectrum about value, scarcity, and energy consumption, in a way where So it's really, really interesting how. And the miners are taking control of that process. It's definitely a beautiful thing here.
And one fun fact about mining as well, it is one of the greenest industries in the world. I think 60% of the Bitcoin mining industry is running on on green energy. You know, our farms, for example, all powered by hydro energy. And I think a lot of other industries can take an example of this industry. You know, we are one of the most highly criticized industries, yet we are, you know, having a big positive contribution in many different ways. And I think that's really beautiful about the crypto space in general. We are very much under criticism of everyone, the governments, the institutions.
Right. Yeah.
Yet we are the ones that are really trying to move humanity forward. And I'm not talking about the thousands of meme coin projects, but there are a few really great projects out there which are really moving humanity forward. And I think it's really great to be at the forefront of this development and to contribute to it, to build communities around it. And yeah, exciting times.
Are you interested in potentially mining any other coins in the near future, or you're mainly sticking with Bitcoin right now?
I'm sticking with Bitcoin because I oftentimes get the request of people like, yeah, but can I mine this exotic new altcoin that also has a proof of work, consensus model, whatever? And I always tell them to not do it. Why? Because your revenue with an altcoin will go like this, whereas your energy cost will always be more or less the same every single month. But it's very stressful if you don't have any consistency in your revenue. So in upwards markets, you're going to make so much money. But then when the bear market comes, all of your money is basically gone. And that's why we focus mainly on mining Bitcoin, because it's the most predictable. It's not that predictable, but it's the most predictable amongst all of the crypto projects. It has the longest track record. And you want to have that kind of, consistency, predictability, if you are going to invest a lot of money into something like that. So that's why we're doing that.
Yeah. In that manner, I think the Bitcoin is, of course, one of the best hedges against inflation. Right?
Yeah.
There is a guy, is a Dutch guy. His name is Willem Middelkoop.
Yes.
Like, he's one of my, my Dutch gurus out there. I listen to him a lot.
Yeah.
He's very bullish about the commodity sector, but also about Bitcoin.
Okay.
And he said that it's no longer, we should not only view Bitcoin in terms of what it's worth against the dollar,
Okay.
but what is the dollar worth against Bitcoin? And how does the dollar stand against Bitcoin in the long term?
Okay.
We always tend to look at, one Bitcoin equals right now around $65,000.
Yeah.
But what about the history of the dollar, and what's the current value of the dollar, and how can we actually measure the value of Bitcoin, in the near future, based upon that right there? So when you think about the price differences between the US dollar and Bitcoin, you can see that there is just a massive decline, and the dollar is keeps losing value over and over again.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something very interesting, which is the Japanese yen, and the Bank of Japan that's potentially interested in putting one of their largest pension funds in the world into Bitcoin as well, using that or adding it to their asset collection. Now, what's interesting about the Bank of Japan is, in regards to their monetary policies, they have done the exact opposite of what the rest of the world has done. And that is maintaining a negative interest rate over the last 2 years, where everyone, scaled up their interest rate up to 5%, to gain, and attract more, money back to their ecosystem.
Yeah.
The Bank of Japan decided to do the opposite, which is, we're keeping our interest rate negative, our monetary policies, also negative. Therefore, we're trying to promote consumer spending.
Right.
And this is the way to keep prices in the country small. But the problem with that is that the Japanese yen right now is practically a ticking time bomb.
Yep.
Because there is no longer, there's going to be some sort of liquidity crunch if you, keep lowering your monetary policy statement, or keep your interest rates negative, because of the fact that it's no longer interesting for investors, for people to loan out their money in that specific country, because they get no return for it. So they're going to start putting their money elsewhere. And, what the yen now is forced to do is, instead of, buying their own treasuries, which is in essence a government loan, in order to, use that for government spending, they now have to comply with US treasuries and dump the US treasuries on the market in order to keep their own currency alive, which has now decreased by over 40% over the last 2 years already.
Yeah.
So, because of that, they're kind of now forced indeed to indirectly start looking at other solutions that works against inflation, because otherwise, their currency will collapse. The Japanese have one of the largest debts in the world, next to the United States.
Yeah.
So far, so good for their own internal economy, but the currency is suffering. So the only way to get over it is by potentially adding on Bitcoin to their, collection, in order to potentially hedge themselves against that inflation.
Yeah, makes sense.
Now the question is, will that actually happen? Yes or no? Depends on the dollar, because, there is a massive negative correlation between the dollar and the yen. Because of the yen buying up all these US treasuries, which is extremely lucrative for the dollar, because it turns the dollar stronger, because it provides more liquidity for the dollar and less for the yen. So the question is, will the United States actually allow that to happen? So we're going to see how that goes and how that unfolds. But again, the interest from the Bank of Japan potentially integrating Bitcoin speaks for itself, of the reason why. You can not print any more Bitcoin.
Yeah.
There's 21 million in supply. There's not going to be more than that. I'm talking about gold. You can always find some gold in the ground.
Gold, yeah.
Unlimited amount of supply. We don't know how much gold there actually is. Nobody really knows also how much gold somebody, or what kind of government, how much gold they actually hold.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to understand what is going on in the world,
But
except
not
with Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
So in terms of the value, I think it's also interesting, and I think this is the hardest thing for us as human beings to understand, is because we're so used to, millionaires, billionaires. He has $1 million, $1 billion. But what does it actually mean, like in the near future? What is $1 million worth in the near future?
Yeah.
So, Bitcoin and the way we have to measure the value of Bitcoin is also going to be very hard in the future, because we don't really know how to value it and against what.
Against what, yeah.
So I think that's the biggest incentive for institutions, governments to get involved here, is because the network is so strong you can break it. The supply is fixed. They're taking control over the mining factories, like you said right now, so also over the energy production there as well. So I think that Bitcoin in that manner has one of the brightest futures ahead of itself. We have to wait and see how it goes. There are no certainties, but the question is, what is a bigger risk at this particular moment? It is holding United States dollars that lost 99.5% over the last 10 years in value against Bitcoin, with an unlimited amount of supply, potential money printing coming along, elections coming along, geopolitical uncertainty, corruption, you name it, or the blockchain, like the Bitcoin.
Yeah.
We're going to find out. It's going to be an interesting ride.
It's going to be an interesting ride for sure. And funny that you bring up Japan again. I just came back from a skiing trip to Japan. And 4 years ago, I went on a trip to Japan. And I remember it was so expensive. Like every time I got the bill, I was like, ooh, this is very, very high compared to, for example, the Netherlands.
Yeah.
But this time I went to Japan, and every time I got the bill, I'm like, wow, this is so cheap. It's like it's like I'm in Bali. So yeah, I really understand why a pension fund in Japan is looking at hedging itself against, the losing of value of their currency. They have to do it because their currency is really becoming worthless. And if we look at China, for example, if we go back to Japan just came out of, I think, they call it the three lost decades of Japan, or 2 lost decades of Japan, where literally there was not really any movement in the stock market. And now they're talking about an upcoming lost decade or lost decades in China as well, because their stock market pumped a lot. Now it corrected a lot as well. And now there's a few really big fundamental problems in the Chinese market as well. So I think people in those economies are really strongly attracted to Bitcoin because it offers a much brighter future than the assets in their current economies are basically looking to give them. So overall, I'm very, very, very excited about what is going to come next. Then the next question that I want to ask you is, how do you see Bitcoin long term in, let's say, 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now?
I personally believe that Bitcoin will not be used as some sort of currency that you can just use to just buy and sell stuff, in the supermarket with as like a default. I think it is going to be much more a store of value. I believe in the long-term prosperity that Bitcoin has to offer, utility that Bitcoin has to offer. But I think it's really going to be, digitalizing gold as of what it always was or has been for hundreds of years. You can already see now that Bitcoin has surpassed silver, as these biggest, as one of these, biggest assets in the world right now. I think we're heading closer and closer to that, number one spot.
10 point something trillion is gold. 10.4 trillion.
13 trillion.
And gold, silver was 1.3
Silver was
trillion.
like a tenth of that. So something like that indeed. We're heading in that direction.
We're definitely.
So we're talking about 1 trillion right now. Institutions just getting involved. The supply shock is literally around the corner. I believe it's just a matter of time, and if you get that number one spot, it's going to be very hard to beat that. The less supply available, or there is just simply not enough Bitcoin out there right now for everyone. Because if you look at the influx of all the spot ETFs at the moment, you know probably better than I am what how many Bitcoin per day get mined. So I'm not 100% sure about that, but I know that the demand right now, as of what we have seen last month, is bigger.
Far surpasses it.
Surpasses the supply. So, you can't beat that for now. The only thing, and I think this is still something for people to think about, even though the long-term, outlook for Bitcoin is looking, in my opinion, very, very positive. In the short, medium term, we're still going to expect major volatility. It's not going to be now, in my opinion, that institutions come into play right now, so that's it. We're just going to go up, and it's just going to be one linear move to the upside. I don't see that happening, and the main reason why that is, of course, is because if you look at Bitcoin in particular, and we're talking about the money that's flowing into Bitcoin right now, why the Bitcoin price is so high, you can see that this is still money that comes into the stock market. So it's now a share that you buy on the stock market. And the custodian, Coinbase, is then buying up the Bitcoin to support that, to back that up.
Yeah, they need to back it.
But it still means that you buy it on the stock market. So if the stock market collapses in some way, this might have, in the short term at least, an impact also on the Bitcoin price. Because of the fact that if if the stock market collapses and you have these shares that, and you see that there is just a very, very strong correlation between the stock market and the cryptocurrency market, that correlation will only get stronger over time as if more money flows into the stock market and not just through retail and through other solutions into the crypto bubble, let's say. So I'm always going to be aware of the fact that volatility is going to be there. And these volatile moments in the market as a trader for myself provides also incredible opportunities. But it's not just going to be one big, landslide to the moon, let's say, from my experience.
I agree. Have you ever Yeah, so one statistic that I always like to share about Bitcoin is I think worldwide there's around 62 million millionaires and there's only 21 million Bitcoin. So even if every millionaire wanted to get one Bitcoin, it's just impossible. There's not enough Bitcoin to go around. And then what many people forget is that there's also 3 to 4 million Bitcoin that just got lost because people forgot their private keys, their passwords. Or one other story that I heard was that someone's crazy ex-girlfriend just took their ledger, put it in like hot water and basically destroyed this ledger with a few thousand, hundreds of Bitcoin on it.
Yeah.
Imagine, so much loss. So Bitcoin is even a lot more scarce than people think it is. But I do think that the cyclical nature of Bitcoin, I do personally think that it will change in the next market cycle or the cycle thereafter. And one of the parallels that I'm looking at is the chart of Amazon. If you look at Amazon, which was a very innovative company early on in the 2000s, its stock actually moved very similar. But slowly but surely after Amazon became a more mature company, a more well-known, well-established company with more people owning it compared to previously, it started to indeed flatten out a little bit. I do not expect it to happen in this cycle, but I do think it will kick in one of the next cycles, maybe the second or the third cycle. So I do personally think that for crypto investors, this might be one of the last opportunities to make a shit ton of money
I agree.
in a short period of time. And if it's not this bull market, then it's next bull market. But the window is closing slowly.
I completely agree, and I think when we're talking about the money printing side of things, like we know what happened when we experienced the lockdowns and all that stuff. Of course, when they printed tens of trillions of dollars and injected it into the economy, like I hate to say that, but right now in the world, it's not going that well. Like a lot of people are struggling. It gets worse over time. You see in the United States right now that people are literally at the verge of collapse. Paying back the debts that they, generated throughout that time period. At the same time, the elections are coming up here. You need to look, good for the people. So I do expect that this might be the year, where they finally squeeze out like a bunch of more money, start printing a lot more money, and potentially again injecting it into the economy. They have changed also the inflation data, the CPI.
Oh yeah, they're manipulating
it really, really heavily because it was always 2 years based upon the 2-year historical history, and you can compare it to the 2 years. Now it's only 1 year.
Yeah, and also the basket of products and services that they're measuring against also constantly get
You
changed.
can decide what's in the basket. So if you can decide what's in the basket, then
you
of
pick
course
the best ones for your results.
That's it.
It's cherry picking.
So of course, the inflation numbers are all bullshit in that matter. So we all know that. So the true representation of what they say the economy is like and what is actually happening in the world, it's far, far, far worse. But at the same time, there is a major power struggle happening in the United States right now as well. So I do believe that we're going to see some sort of new money printing based upon the increasement of the debt limit that they have been pursuing last year in June, where we saw that major announcement also Biden.
But it gets increased every time.
Every time.
There's no fixed
every time.
limit.
No, absolutely. So we were at like $33 trillion or something like that. And now they are able to increase it to unlimited amount time. Unlimited.
Okay, yeah.
For the next 2 years. So up until 2025, the end of 2025, they have the opportunity of unlimited money printing from the Fed. So they have to do something in that time span, and you know, elections, geopolitical situations with Russia, you know, unlimited amount of money printing potential.
Yeah.
Why not doing it? Why not injecting it here? Like, the people are truly suffering. In regards to the consumer confidence, it's coming down really, really strong. I think the you know, Visa, MasterCard debts right now of retail is at an all-time high.
Yeah.
People just cannot pay their debts anymore. I've, you know, went on YouTube and I looked at people you know, complaining about how expensive the food is in the United States. You worked in Silicon Valley, you probably know
Yeah,
it.
it was super expensive already.
Already, right?
Like in 2017, it was
2017,
expensive already. Yeah.
So, you know, think about that plus, you know, 100% of what's currently happening here.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do it.
No.
I just don't know how they're surviving. So something needs to happen. But again, to come back to crypto, I think that, you know, a lot of money printing leads to potential new money in the ecosystem, and money does not disappear.
No, not potentially. It will lead to
It
more
will.
money in the
Yeah,
markets.
Yeah, it did it before. It will do it again.
Yeah.
So money will not disappear.
No.
Like, and that's also the thing. If gold goes down or the dollar goes down, it's not that that money is just gone unless you get it out of the M2, the money supply. But in order to get money out of the money supply, you go to all kinds of procedures. It's very hard to get money out of the money supply here. It's much more convenient to move money from one place to another.
Yeah.
And the difference between the traditional markets and the cryptocurrency markets is that you, as a retail trader or investor, have a much bigger advantage with the cryptocurrency market because everything is traceable.
Yeah.
And you know exactly how much money is circulating in what. You have all the on-chain data publicly available for $20 a month.
Yeah.
To get that unlimited amount of data that you never would get in the traditional markets here.
Yeah.
So if you want to familiar yourself with an industry and you want to become a trader or an investor, with the volume that's happening right now in crypto, I think it's one of the best learning curves that you can experience. You don't have to go full margin, all in on Shiba Inu.
Yeah.
But what you can do is to buy some Bitcoin, you know, get familiar, get one foot in the door, and start familiarizing yourself with it. It can never hurt. And I think it's just a start of something very beautiful, because the moment you're invested, you know, you're going to set your eyeballs on it. You're going to focus on it. You have a focus point, and you can only get
True.
better from there.
True.
And I think that's the best way of getting into the markets.
Nice. Yeah, actually, one of the things that that I do, so for people that are close to me, my family members, for example, my dad is an entrepreneur, but he never really got into investing. He really has like a middle-class mindset, the mindset of working hard, saving up a lot of money. And now that he's older and retired, he's thinking about investing, which is way too late. So one thing that I've done with my brother, my dad, my mom, is on their birthdays, I gave them some Bitcoin. And then from the moment they owned some Bitcoin, they started to track it, to listen to the news, to further their understanding of what is going on. And that's also what you're referring to, is when you're a little bit invested in something, you will learn. And I think the first step is you just need to make the investment, track, observe, learn. When I got into this space many years ago, I absorbed every single podcast, YouTube video, Michael Saylor, every speech video. I like studied it, I dissected it, I like fact checked everything he said, and you learn so much from doing that. And it's like your financial education on steroids. There's no university degree that can compete by just doing it, learning, observing, and repeating the cycle over and over to get better.
I think the best thing that you can do, and it worked incredibly for myself, is instead of being so obsessed with crypto projects just by default, focus on the people in the space, the people that are, the big guys, the guys that are knowing what they're doing here, and start learning
Yeah.
about them instead of the projects, and just look into projects themselves. You start focusing on the people that have accomplished so much already. And I think that you can learn so much from these guys, and just you see what they're doing, and just see if
success leaves clues.
see if there is potential.
Yeah.
I see still a big gap there right now. You see a lot of guys that are coming up in the industry with a lot of potential. You saw it, in the last run with CZ, for example, of Binance, how he just absolutely exploded. Became one of the wealthiest men in the world just from that run. Unfortunately, what happened now, of course, it's actually really bad.
Jail time, potential jail time, right?
Potential jail time. If you become so powerful in an unregulated sector or semi-unregulated sector, turning regulated, it becomes so hard. And if you are one of the biggest guys in the industry, you get attacked from all angles.
Of course.
So, I see him as like it's almost like he sacrificed himself for, the industry, setting, that statement right there. But it's impressive. It's very impressive what he has accomplished. So,
but that is part of the maturing of the crypto space, right? Everything that has happened in the past years, from the collapse of FTX, Three Arrows Capital, Luna, all of this stuff needs to happen in order for the industry to mature. And I think we need to have some kind of regulations, because otherwise, I think there needs to be some protection for the uneducated, unexperienced investor who just sees the market as a casino. To be honest, those people should not be investing. But that's why over time, I think this industry will mature and will become like the internet sector is today. So let's talk about something else, which is taking profits.
Right.
You said you by accident entered the crypto space in 2016 by getting a payout from a casino. I remember the first time I got into crypto, it was 2017. I was traveling through Thailand with 2 friends. One of them was a trader, and he got into Bitcoin very early stage. I think he already made a few million at that time at a very young age. And while we were traveling through Thailand, he kept on telling me about, just buy some Bitcoin, man, buy some Ethereum. I made so much money with this. And one day I just had so much FOMO. So I opened up a Kraken account. I bought some Bitcoin. I thought, all right, next day I'm going to be a multi-millionaire just like my friend. I woke up 1 week later and 50% was left of my initial investment, and I panic sold. And then a few months later, Bitcoin hit its all-time high at that point of 17K. And I swore to myself that I was never going to get into crypto again. I thought it was like a Ponzi scheme, there was no real value. And then now my main business is Bitcoin mining. But I realized that I was afraid of crypto, or I didn't understand crypto because I didn't do my research. I just didn't understand what it was all about. But when you do understand, you understand that there's so much potential. But you need to have a game plan. You need to, what I always say to the people around me is you need to create a document. In this document, you outline what you're going to invest in, for example, what you said earlier, AI and crypto gaming. That's one of the focus areas of your portfolio. What moment you're going to invest in, how much money you're going to invest in it, but also when are you going to pull your money out of the market? Because it's great to see these virtual numbers on your phone, but you haven't made a profit until you've cashed out. And because you're a trader, I think that's part of your daily life, weekly life.
Absolutely.
What is your philosophy about taking profits with your portfolio?
So number one, I think that pain by default is the best remedy. I think that when you start out, especially the way that I started out, making a lot of money at the beginning and then losing it all,
Yeah.
and literally ending up with nothing anymore, like zero at the bottom, just because I was incredibly greedy and I just had that shiny object syndrome again, like we talked about at the beginning, where I thought, okay, this is just going to go on forever and ever because I did not do my proper research.
Yeah.
Now, the older we tend to get, the more like painful experiences we need to experience in order to realize, okay, this is definitely something that I would not do next time.
Yeah.
However, it doesn't have to be this way. There are a lot of guys in the industry you can learn from, of guys that are, doing it correctly. Now, when it comes down to making profits, what people tend to do, and I think that this is, from my experience, what I see in our community and what's happening the most, is that even though you turned your, $1,000 into $20,000, and you end up with $15,000, you're not happy about that you just turned your $1,000 into $15,000, but you're disappointed because it was $20,000 and you didn't sell on the top.
Yeah.
Let me tell you this already, fam, you're not, like, it's gonna be very difficult for you to sell exactly at a high here. So with that mindset of like, okay, I'm gonna hold it until then, and then the moment it's there, and it is actually the price, you're going to see another mountain that's a little bit bigger.
Yeah,
and
you think it's
say,
going to go higher and higher.
It might go there because it looks so strong. Well, from my personal experience, usually when you have a certain price point set, you will start seeing that eventually, you were right by selling at the moment here. So I think taking profits is absolutely never a bad idea, along the way, along the journey. Because what people tend to forget is that even when, you take profits and price goes higher, there are tons of other new opportunities out there which you can potentially reinvest if you understand the market, the macros. You still think there is potential. You still think there is more or less liquidity available. Enough people that are still, wanting to buy, because it is player versus player. It's not just let's all be in it together and just make a bunch of money, kind of, but also not really, because of the fact that if somebody buys, somebody has to sell it to you, and the other way around. So taking profits is, in my opinion, never a bad idea. And if you are cash heavy, you can always think about re-entering the market if you really see the potential in it. But we tend to think that, price goes up, I take my profits, I get out, and that's it. It's finished. But where I think the most money is generated is by the compounding effect. So making sure that once you take some profits, you utilize some of these profits here to be, number one, cash heavy, secondary, potentially look for other opportunities and try to compound that, rather than try to get the maximum out of one investment because you believe so much in the project, because you're so emotionally invested in it, because you tend to become extremely attached to a project out there, because you believe in the concept, you believe in the family, the community, the people. It's a beautiful way of doing business, but at the same time, taking profits is, in my opinion, never a bad idea.
Well, actually, if you get attached to a project, the statistics are in your disfavor, because 95% of most crypto projects do not really survive the bear market. And even the top 100 projects of the previous bull market are most likely not going to be in the top 100 of the next bull market, other than probably Bitcoin and Ethereum. So earlier in this podcast, we spoke about Jim Rohn. And Jim Rohn has this famous speech called The 4 Seasons of Life. Do you know it?
I don't remember. Maybe you can clarify a little bit.
So Jim Rohn says, in life, you should approach anything in life as if you're a farmer. When a farmer wants to have a really great harvest, he needs to understand that there are 4 seasons. Winter is the time to educate yourself. to make a game plan for the upcoming year. Then spring arrives. Spring is a time where you prepare the soil, you plant your seeds. Then summer arrives. During the summer, you give lots of love to the soil, to your crops, and your crops start to grow. And then fall comes, and fall is a harvest season. So when you've done everything correctly in the previous 3 stages, then you will have a great harvest. Now, the big problem in crypto that most people have is they want to plant their seeds during fall season, and they want to reap the rewards of their work directly in fall season. So they have the very short interval where they want to become multi-millionaires in a very short period of time.
Yeah.
That's most likely the way to lose all of your money. So let's say that you're a farmer and you've done everything correctly 1 full year. You've made a lot of money. You had a great harvest. Then the next year you've got money, so you can buy better equipment, buy better seeds, hire staff, so you can have an even bigger harvest. So it's really understanding and riding the waves, not being impatient and wanting to have everything right away. That's
Completely.
the perfect recipe
Yeah.
to get slaughtered
Yeah.
in the market.
And it's tough. It's very hard because you're invested in the project, and I've seen it all the time. And you see all these other projects going up, like 200, 300, 400, 500%, and your project is still sitting there.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, this is not working, so I'm gonna sell it, and I'm gonna go in these projects.
Yeah, and they go down.
These goes down, and then your project initially is going up here. So I call this narrative chasing.
Yeah.
And that's always, in my opinion, being 1 step behind. So instead of just, trying to get into the next, into the current big thing, just try to position yourself in, hey, what hasn't pumped yet? What has the potential?
Yeah.
What, is there any utility value? Like, what are the core layers of something potentially growing? And, for that really good reason, I think patience, like you said before, is one of the most important skills, not just in investing, but also in trading. People tend to think, also from my community perspective, that when you trade, you have to take a trade every single day.
Yeah.
So when I trade live on stream, there are streams where I don't take a trade, but I've been streaming for 3 hours.
Yeah.
And then people are like, but this is a live trading stream.
But there's no trades.
But you're not trading.
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, but that's the game.
Yeah.
That's it. You need to wait for the right opportunities in the market. And yes, we call it day trading, but it does not mean that we have to take a trade every
day.
single day
Yeah.
of the week. It's just, we want to make sure that our playbook, is exactly there. We want to see exactly what's happening on the charts and execute based upon that confirmation. Same thing for investing, in my opinion, as well. Sometimes, it's better to be extremely patient here. The reason why I personally, and this depends, it's a different opinion for everyone, but why I utilize technical analysis in crypto a lot, and I know, I'm going to make some people upset because some people are 100% against technical analysis, and then you have other guys that are extremely pro technical analysis here.
Yeah.
I'm quite neutral, but what I can say is that from my experience, sometimes because I have the chart info, and that's just basic TA. It's no magic whatsoever. Everyone could learn it.
Yeah.
Going on the macros, I purposely sometimes buy a project higher because I have a certain confirmation in the market. And if a project is then at a higher level, you might think, yeah, but you could have bought it lower. But yeah, sure. But then it might be sitting there for another 5 months and my money is not doing anything. So I rather sometimes buy more expensive, knowing that there is momentum and that I can potentially take advantage of that momentum to compound my interest and just take it out and put it into another project. Only if you are aware of some basic technical analysis here. So I like personally to utilize technical analysis with some fundamental analysis as well. But this is all different for
Yeah,
anyone
yeah, yeah.
out there.
Everyone has their own
So everyone has their own way
philosophy,
of doing
but what is important during a bull market is that you stick to your philosophy, because right now everyone says, yeah, at this price I will take profit, or when this happens I will do that, but then the moment arrives they don't do shit.
Exactly.
So yeah, did you say what your game plan was to actually take profits in the bull market?
If I just explained it, what my game plan was?
Yeah.
Yeah, so my game plan is going to be, if I gain a certain amount, I have a percentage of profits I take on a critical level.
Yeah.
Like I said before, I use technical analysis, so
Yeah.
I already have my key level set way before it gets there.
Perfect.
I look at what is the total market cap of a project, what is the total market cap of that narrative, and what is the dominance factor of Bitcoin, because I always want to know what Bitcoin is doing. When taking and coming back to the cycles that you see internally happening in the markets, you tend to see that Bitcoin tends to gain its dominance first. So a lot of money will flow into Bitcoin. Then you see that Ethereum, the mother of all altcoins, starts to take over.
Yeah.
A lot of money will flow into Ethereum. The Bitcoin dominance tends to drop. And then you see that the bigger caps, are starting to come, and it goes from, the top to the bottom. It's like one big filter all the way down.
Right.
So, like, I'm always trying to understand in what cycle are we currently in, and are the key levels that I set out for taking profit, are they still reasonable to achieve based upon the narrative, the market cap, and everything from a macro standpoint, and an on-chain analysis as well here. So it's always going to be a little bit of guessing. Like, you're never going to be 100% certain.
Yeah.
So I also don't want people to think that they can always find out and that they are 100% sure that this will happen here. Same thing on YouTube. People are always 100% sure that gold will go up, and they're super active in the chat, and then when it comes down, they're nowhere to be found. Or when I take a long and I lose, everyone is suddenly right and said, yeah, I told you so, it was going to come down here. We call these guys Mr. Hindsights. Like, they think they know it for sure. But, I'm always trying to be as open-minded as possible and always think in scenarios. And what is the scenario that, there is still some rest liquidity left here. We're still in that filtering process. And, depending on what kind of project you're invested in my opinion, you should categorize your project, put it into that specific narrative to actually know in kind of what cycle you're currently in, and where your narrative or project stands in that cycle. And based upon these key levels, I tend to take my profits along the way here. If you are a complete beginner, and this is what I did at the beginning, I invested my money, I made a certain percentage, took it out. Now I'm running with my money, and I'm running with my profits.
Right.
And I just
you take your initial investment.
Take my initial investment
so it's
out.
a free ride.
And it's just a free ride, and I see where it goes. It can make you a little bit lazy. So if you just do that, you think,
it's free
it
money
can go up
anyways.
forever. It's free money anyway. So
you
don't feel the need to really focus on it. But if you combine that factor and you want to play it safe, I think, and you understand what cycle we're in, I think that you have still a pretty basic foundation of how to start utilizing the interest, the compounding effect, and just make sure that you consistently can grow your portfolio over time.
Nice. I think we have covered a lot of ground already so far. So I would say let's wrap it up. Maybe before we wrap it up, do you have one tip or one thing that you want to share with the viewers of this video?
Get one foot in the door. Get at least some exposure. I think that's the best start to get involved. I mentioned already a couple times, but that's just truly the only way to gain interest.
Yeah.
Because it's so hard to gain interest into something that you're not actually exposed to. I know how it is when you're not actually invested and you're trying to do research. Your brain works in a different way when you are actually involved here. So starting out very small is, in my opinion, the best way to get familiar and, you know, follow the right people around you. Don't listen too much to your neighbor that's talking about
unexperienced people that
unexperienced people that don't know what they're talking about, because everyone is suddenly...
There'll be a lot of them.
And everyone is a crypto guru now. You know what I mean? So, you know, be very precise, picking the right individuals here, and make sure that you listen to the right people and act that way. I think that's just the best way to get started here. Do not set too high of an expectation either, but you know, just roll into the markets, get familiar, don't be overexposed, and be consistent. And I think consistency is key, and will provide you with the best opportunities and the best perspective in the long term. And if you think you're too late now, you're going to say this again in 5 years, and you're going to say it again in 10 years, and you're going to keep saying that you're too late, and then before you know it, it is actually too late.
It will become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
That's it.
I think that's actually really great advice and really strong to wrap it up with, because if you will listen to those people that don't have the results, you'll probably get the results that the herd has, the masses. They will buy at the top, sell at the bottom, and that's a perfect recipe to lose. In fact, you need to do the exact opposite of what everyone else is telling you to do. So really strong.
The future seems bright. So
very bright, very bright. And we're right at the forefront. I think it's early stage in the bull market. There's still a lot more space to go up from here. So let's all take advantage of it. So I want to thank you for watching this video. Thank you, Lorenzo, for taking the time. Where can people follow you? Where can they connect with you?
Lorenzo Corrado on YouTube. If you're interested in trading, you want to get familiar with the basics, you can follow me trading like live. You know, you see me win, you see me lose, you see everything. You see my track records as well. And if you have any questions, I'm always open for response, feedback, whatever you want to do. And, you know, we have a Discord community right now of over 20,000 members. We're hosting the Limitless Trading Academy as well. And I think that this is just going to be a continuous process where we keep developing and experiencing the markets as well as crypto, traditional markets as well. So a bunch of different layers where you could get involved in and potentially familiarize yourself with. So cash flow is king.
Cash flow is indeed king. All right, amazing. So if you enjoyed watching this video, be sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video if you've got value out of it. So at least we know that you've been paying attention, you've been taking notes, and actually that you're ready to take advantage of all of the opportunities in the market. And that being said, thanks for watching. Peace out, and I'll see you in the next one.
Peace.